What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the attachment selection in Black Ops 6 is getting a bit stale in my opinion. And this is just due to the fact that it is quite a simple attachment system, which many of us were looking forward to coming off of Modern Warfare 3, since that game was on the extreme opposite end of the scale, where it had just way too many attachments, especially with content carry forward from Modern Warfare 2. So on one hand, it was refreshing to get a much more simplistic attachment selection with Black Ops 6. However, I do think they went a little too far in the opposite direction, and I think there is a happy middle ground to be found here. And I think there's plenty of opportunity for them to round that out over time, which we have been seeing a little bit here or there. In fact, with Season 4, it was announced we're getting the G-Grip, which is an underbarrel grip, available on SMGs and assault rifles, with the only exception being the PP919. And with this, it does break the mold of the underbarrel category a little bit in Black Ops 6. This one has an integrated laser on it, and it improves firing stability, horizontal recoil control, and it gives you a tightened spread when transitioning between hipfire and aiming down sight, just like the Strelic laser. So it's kind of a combo of the Strelic laser and a typical underbarrel grip. And I think it's great to see stuff like this, and I want to see more of this in Black Ops 6. I think there's plenty of opportunity to round out some attachment slots and allow for some more interesting and unique builds compared to what we've been dealing with in Black Ops 6 basically since launch. And doing this would also be a lot more refreshing to the overall gameplay in my opinion compared to just adding a brand new gun to the game, because with a brand new gun, that's just one gun that you can learn and master and that's about it. Whereas by adding attachments, it allows you to go back to several, if not all, of the existing weapons in the game and switch things up a little bit and experience them in new and unique ways. So I do think this is one of the areas that provides the most opportunity to liven up the gameplay a little bit with the least amount of effort. And today I wanted to share 5 attachment ideas that I think would fit in really well with the current attachment selection in Black Ops 6. For some of these, I think they could be universal and apply to all of the weapons in the game, whereas other ones could be targeted to just a certain selection of weapons. And perhaps this is another way that they could bring some of the lesser used weapons up a little bit without having to directly buff them, because in many cases there are guns that are just slightly worse than another counterpart. I wouldn't call them like unbalanced and really bad and desperately needing a buff, but they're just not quite as attractive as some of the other options. So taking a handful of those guns and applying a unique attachment that allows them to do something different, I think could offer some nice incentives to branch out a little bit with weapons as well, without directly affecting weapon balance. So let's dive into these recommendations. And the first area that I feel is really lacking in Black Ops 6 is hipfire potential. At the moment in this game, the only way to improve hipfire with the vast majority of guns is to use a laser attachment, and there are 2 different options in the laser category to improve your hipfire. And these are the steady aim laser and the fast motion laser. And honestly, with these lasers on their own, I don't feel they're enough to really lean into a really amazing hipfire build with any of the guns in the game. That's an entire layer of gameplay in Black Ops 6 that's essentially missing from the game. Whereas looking back to Modern Warfare 3, for instance, you could make some incredible hipfire builds while making certain sacrifices, of course, and that just made for some more interesting gameplay. If you wanted to go hipfire only just for a change of pace, you could do that while being very successful. In Black Ops 6, these lasers aren't good enough to be doing that on a consistent basis. And sure, they make hipfire more viable, but you can't really make a great hipfire build in my eyes. So with this, I think we've got a few different options. And the first option that came to mind is a barrel attachment, because I feel the barrels in this game are quite lacking. They're pretty boring. It's either range or velocity or both. And then there's the short barrel, which I don't think anybody is really using. The short barrel is practically useless. So initially I was thinking we could add a new barrel and make it a barrel that helps with hipfire. But the problem with adding new barrels to the game is every gun would have to have unique models created specifically for that gun. And therefore, it's not really viable to be bringing in a brand new barrel for every gun in the game. That's way too much work to make that happen. However, as I mentioned, the short barrel in this game sucks. It's useless in my eyes. I don't know of anybody that's using the short barrel, and I don't see any good reason to be using the short barrel over any of the others. So perhaps there's a case here where they don't actually have to add a new weapon mod. They just have to rework the short barrel and make it a hipfire barrel. So when using that, have it improve your hipfire spreads, and also tac stance. That would be great as well. That's something I haven't been mentioning here, but it often goes hand in hand with hipfire. It would be great to also have improved tac stance builds, because that's another area where Black Ops 6 is lacking. You can definitely make viable tac stance setups, but you can't make great tac stance setups in this game, unlike in Modern Warfare 3. So having a barrel specifically designed for this that you could pair with the lasers to really spec more into an extreme there, that would be great. However, it should probably come at the cost of something like range, bullet velocity, and or recoil control. So So that way, if you are speccing into an extreme here and gaining some extreme power in one area, you're going to have to lose out in another area, which I think is fair when building toward extremes. Now, alternatively, if not a barrel, I think this could also work as an underbarrel grip, although we are just getting a brand new underbarrel grip right now, so maybe that's a bit too much in the underbarrel category. But in either case, I think it would be very beneficial to have a complementary attachment that you can pair with the lasers for hipfire and or attack stance, since those are a couple layers of the game that are just not great and not really worth using most of the time. So that's the first idea I've got, and probably the one that I would want the most out of any of the ones that I mentioned today, just because I think it could have the biggest impact on the overall gameplay options that it would open up. However, next up, there's another area that Black Ops 6 just isn't utilizing at all, and this is the minimap ping duration. As it is right now, you either have a suppressor and don't have a dot show up on the radar, or you don't have a suppressor and you will show up as a dot, and that dot will last for the same amount of time no matter what. So I think what we're missing here is a middle ground, like the Zem flash hider that we had in Modern Warfare 3, where when you fire your gun, you will still show up as a dot on the enemy's radar, but let's say for half the duration as if you were using a normal unsuppressed weapon. So there's at least a better chance of not being spotted on that radar since your dot is disappearing more quickly after you stop shooting. Now, in addition to this, since the muzzle category in Black Ops 6 is very clearly defined as improving vertical recoil control, I think it should give you some level of vertical recoil control, although not nearly to the level of the compensator, of course, because you're getting this additional benefit. So maybe a 15 to 20% improvement to your vertical recoil control. I think an attachment like this would fit perfectly in Black Ops 6. It's basically like using a hybrid between a suppressor and a compensator, so you get a little bit of the benefits of both without really leaning into the extremes, and I could totally see myself using an attachment like this on a fairly regular basis in Black Ops 6. And when it comes to an attachment like that, I think this is one that could definitely be universal and apply to literally every single gun in the entire game, and I don't think there would be any issues there. As for the next one, I think we could use a little more versatility in the low zoom or no zoom optics. This is something where throughout the year last year with Modern Warfare 3, we saw several aftermarket part optics added, and they offered various improvements with some downsides, like the Jack Glassless optic, for instance, which improved firing aim stability, and it was a low zoom optic, but it came at the cost of slightly harming our aim down sight speed. And I would love to see something like that added to Black Ops 6, or alternatively, maybe a low or no zoom thermal optic. At the moment, I think the lowest zoom thermal you can get is a 1.5, but I think they could take that further and have a no zoom thermal. And they could have that slight trade-off as well of having slightly worse aim down sight speed. That's just another small void that I see in the attachment selection for Black Ops 6 that could be rounded out a little bit more. Next, I know a lot of these are following the blueprint for what we saw with Modern Warfare 3 attachments post-launch, but I do think it's a good blueprint to follow. I would love to see something like the Jack Cutthroat stock from Modern Warfare 3. And for those that aren't aware, this is a stock that massively improved our aim down sight strafe speed, while also helping our aim walking steadiness, so it really leaned into strafing in gunfights. However, since it did improve those areas to such extremes, I think it also needs to come with some downsides like it did in Modern Warfare 3. So this could come with a slight reduction to our recoil control, or maybe our flinch resistance, for instance. It could make it so you get worse flinch resistance. And when it comes to an attachment like this is the type where I wouldn't make it universal. I wouldn't want it to apply to all of the guns in the game, but perhaps you could apply it to some of the lesser used guns or some of the slightly weaker guns in the game, just to give them that interesting leg up over the more meta guns, by allowing them to have noticeably faster strafe speeds at a cost. That's an attachment I really enjoyed when they added it to Modern Warfare 3, and it got me to branch out and use some of the lesser used guns that I wasn't really having much interest in using until that attachment was added. And I think we could really see a similar thing happen here in Black Ops 6 with an attachment like that. Now finally, for the last attachment that I'd love to see added, or more so a non-attachment that I'd like to see expanded, if that makes any sense, this is akimbo on more guns. As it is right now in the SMG category, we only have access to akimbo on the SOG, and I would love to see that expanded to some more of the SMGs. I don't think it should be available on every SMG in the game, but I'm thinking like the Ladra. I think that would be really well suited to akimbo, or maybe the PP919 or the Tonto, just for some variety with some akimbo SMGs as well, so you have varying fire rates. You can have some low fire rate akimbos, some high fire rate akimbos. I think this is another area where they could really easily implement this, and it would open up a lot more variety in gameplay styles, and it would encourage people to branch out and use some guns and setups that they otherwise wouldn't have used in Black Ops 6 going forward. And there we go. That is going to wrap it up for 5 ideas that I've got for some post-launch attachments that I think could really improve gun variety, playstyle variety, and weapon variety in the game if handled properly. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Do you have any additional attachment ideas that you would love to see added to Black Ops 6 before the end of its life cycle? If so, do you think it should be a universal attachment or just apply to some of the guns in the game? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.